I remember the day I drove back into Willow Creek, that small town that used to feel too tight for my dreams. The sun was setting behind the hills, the same way it had when I left 15 years ago. But everything looked smaller now. The streets, the houses, even the sky. It's strange how success can make the world you left behind seem like it belonged to another lifetime. I had everything I once thought I wanted. A business that made me a millionaire before 35. Cars, travel, influence, the kind of life that looks perfect in photographs. But no matter how high I climbed, one thing always sat heavy on my chest, the sound of my mother's voice the day I left. "Go, if you must," she'd said, standing on that porch with her apron still on. "But don't forget, a home isn't something you build with money." I didn't answer then. I just got in my old car and drove away, too proud to look back. Now, 15 years later, I was back. Not to apologize at least, that's what I told myself, but to surprise her. To give her something she could never afford, something that would show her I'd made it. I'd bought her a mansion, the biggest one in town, sitting right on the edge of Willow Creek Lake. It had glass walls, marble floors, a garden overlooking the water, everything she ever dreamed of, or so I believed. When I pulled up to the old house where I grew up, I half expected her to come running out, apron on, scolding me for not calling ahead. But the porch was quiet. The paint was peeling, the wind chimes broken. The front door creaked open slowly when I knocked. She was there, older, thinner, her hair now fully gray. But her eyes were the same, calm, soft, and full of something I couldn't name. She didn't rush to hug me. She just stood there, studying me, like she was trying to decide if I was really her son or just a stranger wearing his face. "Daniel," she said at last, "you look tired." That wasn't what I expected. Not, "You're home," not, "I missed you," just that. "I've been busy," I said, forcing a smile, "but I'm here now, and I've got something to show you." She looked puzzled as I led her outside, to the car, to the mansion just across town. On the drive there, I talked about my business, my travels, the people I'd met. She just listened quietly, nodding once in a while. When we arrived, she stepped out and looked up at the house. The sun was sinking, and the light caught her face just so half shadow, half wonder. "It's beautiful," she said softly. "It's yours," I replied, my chest swelling with pride. "Every inch of it. You'll never have to work again. You deserve this." For a long moment, she didn't move. Then she turned to me and smiled, not the joyful kind I'd imagined, but the kind that hides something behind it. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "But, Daniel, why now?" "Because I can," I said. "Because I want you to have everything you never could." She nodded, looking around the grand entrance, the tall windows, the chandelier hanging above us. And then she said something I'll never forget. "It's lovely," she said, "but where will you be?" I frowned. "What do you mean?" She ran her fingers along the marble staircase, then turned back to me. "A house this big feels empty without family. You bought me space, Daniel, but you can't buy time." Her words hung in the air like smoke. For the first time, I didn't know what to say. I'd built an empire from nothing, yet standing there, in that echoing foyer, I felt like a child again, the one who left home too soon, chasing something that never filled the quiet inside me. That night, she insisted on cooking dinner in the new kitchen, refusing to let me order food. She moved slowly, humming under her breath as she used utensils that gleamed too bright, too new. We ate together by the large window overlooking the lake. She asked me about my life, not about the money, but about the people. "Do you have friends?" she asked. "Someone you talk to?" "I have colleagues," I said, "and I'm seeing someone." "That's nice," she murmured, her eyes lowering. "And do they know you?" I didn't answer. When dinner was done, she poured us tea, the same way she always did, warm, gentle, patient. "You've done well, Daniel," she said. "I'm proud of you, but this," she looked around, "this isn't what I wanted." I laughed quietly. "You mean you don't like it?" "It's not that," she said. "It's just, when I prayed for your success, I didn't mean this kind of success. I wanted you to find peace, joy. people to share your life with, not just walls to fill the silence. That night, I stayed in the guest room, though. Technically, it was my gift to her. But sleep wouldn't come. Her words echoed again and again. You can't buy time. In the middle of the night, I got up and walked through the house. The lights reflected on the polished floors, empty rooms staring back at me like reminders. Somewhere in the quiet, I realized something. This wasn't just a home I'd bought for her. It was a monument to my guilt, a way to make up for all the years I hadn't called, hadn't visited, hadn't been a son. And that's when I knew she didn't want the house. She just wanted me. The next morning, I woke to the smell of coffee and the faint sound of birds outside. For a moment, I forgot where I was. The light spilling through the wide windows made everything seem peaceful, like time itself had slowed down just for us. But the peace didn't last long. I found my mother sitting outside on the porch, wrapped in a shawl, watching the sunrise over the lake. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her cup, and for the first time, I noticed how frail she'd become. "Morning," I said softly, taking the seat beside her. She smiled, but it was distant, like her thoughts were somewhere far away. "You always did sleep in late," she teased. I chuckled, remembering how she used to wake me up before school, tapping on my door with that same patient rhythm. Some things never change. She looked at me, then really looked, and I saw something in her eyes I hadn't seen in years. Sadness, maybe, or peace. It was hard to tell the difference. "Daniel," she said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why did you stop calling?" The question hit harder than I expected. I looked down, tracing the rim of my cup. "I was busy, Mom. Building the business, traveling, trying to make something of myself." "I know," she said, "and I prayed for you every night. But every time the phone didn't ring, I wondered if I did something wrong." My throat tightened. "You didn't. I just thought I had time." She nodded slowly. "We all think that, until we don't." Silence stretched between us. The only sound was the soft rustle of leaves and the waves brushing against the shore. Then she said, "I didn't want to tell you this yesterday, not right away. I wanted to see you smile first." I turned to her, uneasy. "Tell me what?" She set her cup down gently. "I'm sick, Daniel." The words hung in the air, fragile but heavy. "I've been sick for a while," she continued. "The doctors say it's spreading faster now. I didn't want to worry you." My chest went hollow. "Why didn't you call me?" She gave me a soft, sad smile. "You were busy living your life, and I didn't want to be the reason you stopped." I felt something break inside me, a soundless crack I couldn't stop. "Mom, no, don't say that. I could have helped. I could have been here." "I know," she said, "but that's not what I wanted." I stared at her, tears burning the back of my eyes. "Then what did you want?" She reached out, her hand finding mine, her skin cool but steady. "I wanted time, Daniel. Just time with you. Not money, not houses. Just you." It was like everything I'd built suddenly meant nothing. The mansion behind us felt like a hollow monument, a beautiful shell without a heartbeat. I wanted to fix it, to make it right. But how do you buy back years you've already spent? That night, we sat together again by the lake, watching the reflection of the moon ripple across the water. I told her stories about my travels, the places I'd seen, the people I'd met, and for the first time, I realized how empty all of it sounded. She listened with the same quiet patience she'd always had. Then she said, "You've seen the world, Daniel, but did you ever find what you were looking for?" I hesitated. "I thought I did, but now I'm not so sure." She smiled faintly. "Maybe it's not out there. Maybe it's right here, waiting for you to stop running." After that, we started spending our days together, walking by the water, cooking meals, laughing about old memories. I stayed longer than I planned. Weeks turned into months. For once, I wasn't Daniel the businessman. I was just her son again. One afternoon, I found her sitting by the window, a small wooden box on her lap. She motioned for me to sit. "I've been keeping this," she said, opening it slowly. Inside were old letters, yellowed and folded neatly. my childhood drawings, a photo of us at the county fair, and a single note in my handwriting from years ago. "One day, I'll buy you a big house, Mom. Promise." She chuckled softly. "You always keep your promises, don't you?" I tried to smile, but my voice cracked. I wish I'd kept the right ones. She reached over and placed her hand on my cheek. "You're here now. That's what matters." A few months later, the illness took more from her strength, her voice, her energy, but she never once complained. Each morning, she'd still sit by the window, watching the light change over the water. One evening, as the sun dipped low, she whispered, "Do you hear that?" "Hear what?" I asked. "The birds," she said, smiling faintly. "They sound like they're saying goodbye." I wanted to tell her to stop talking like that, to promise her she'd be fine, but I couldn't lie. I just held her hand, feeling how small it had become in mine. That night, I stayed by her bedside. She drifted in and out of sleep, her breathing soft, her face peaceful. And just before dawn, she opened her eyes one last time. "Daniel," she whispered, "I'm here, Mom. Thank you for coming home." Those were her last words. I buried her on the hill behind the mansion, the one that overlooked the lake she loved so much. After everyone left, I sat there alone, watching the wind move through the trees. And for the first time in years, I cried. Not because I'd lost her, but because I'd finally understood her. She didn't want a mansion. She wanted moments, time, the things money could never buy. Now every morning, I make coffee the way she used to. I sit on the porch, watching the sunrise, listening to the birds, and sometimes I swear I hear her humming that same gentle tune she always sang while cooking. The mansion still stands, but it feels smaller now, quieter. I keep it not as a symbol of wealth, but as a reminder that love isn't about grand gestures. It's about presence. If I could go back, I'd give her less marble, less gold, and more days together. More laughter, more "I love yous." Because in the end, she was right. You can buy a house, you can't buy time.